I will appreciate your response. We started our class looking at taxation of individuals. So today, we want to look at taxation of a sole proprietor. That's what we want to look at today. Taxation of a sole proprietor. Now, of course, we are all aware that a sole proprietor is somebody that carries on business. Please mute your videos. As someone that carries on business, right? So the first thing for us to do then is to determine or define what is business. What is business? So business is any trade, vocation, or profession of an individual. That's what business. So business is defined as any trade, profession, and or vocation of an individual, right? Now, what is then the idea of this? We explained that we have two types of employment. Two types of employment. We said we have one, contract of employment, and number two, contract for employment. This is also called contract of service, and this is otherwise referred to as contract for Are we on the same page, please? Are we on the same page?
Yes, please.
All right. So we say we have contract for service and contract of service. So the issue then will now be for us to determine under contract of service, are we together? There is an employer-employee relation. So in other words, for contract of service, you are bound to come 8 o'clock and bound to leave 9 o'clock. So you are bound by the code of conduct of the employer. While under contract for service, an individual is employed to carry out a given task. Are we on the same page? True. Most of the time, a sole proprietor conducts a contract for service slash contract all right. Are we on the same page? All right. Having said that, it is now left for us now to determine what is a trade because we are looking at the subject of a sole trader or sole proprietor. So let's look at trade. Trade is so much of a broad term, right? Are we together? Are we together?
Yes.
So trade is so
Yes, sir.
much of a broad term, but in just short form, trade involves selling a product of the earth, renewing a product of the earth, and offering of services. That's what trade is. Basic. Can I rub up the board? Can I rub up the board? So having defined trade, the next thing for us to now determine will be to determine the badges of trade. Like I want to rub up my screen. Can I? What are the badges? Or what would help us to determine if an activity is a trade or not? That's badges of trade. Number one is the subject matter of realization. That's number one thing that can make us determine the badges of trade. Number two is what? The length of period of ownership. Number three, the frequency or number of similar transactions. Number four, the supplementary work are we together? On or in connection with the property. Number five is the circumstances that were responsible for the realization. And number six, the motive of the transaction. So those are the badges of trade. The subject matter of realization, the length of period of ownership, the frequency of similar or number of similar transactions, supplementary work on or in connection with the property, the circumstances that were responsible for the realization, and the motive of the transaction. Any question, please? So those are the badges or what would help us to identify if an activity is trade or not. Then, because it is a sole trader, any profit made from business will be subjected to tax like that of an individual. Let me repeat that again. Because this fellow is an individual, any profit made from this will be subjected to tax like an individual. Any question, please? Any question, please? So the next thing for me to then do will be to determine my adjusted profit for tax. adjusted profit tax. Are we still on the same page? So for me to do that, I will have to do one. If you have any question, please feel free to ask. I have net profit, add disallowable expenses, less non-taxable and that gives you adjusted profit. And I'm sure I've discussed what adjusted profit is. I mean, what disallowable expenses are and what non-taxable income is. But just for a recap purpose, we have four elements that will make us determine our adjusted profit. The first element is one, taxable income. The second element is non-taxable income. Third element is allowable expenses. Number four is allowable. So we have them like just one. We have one, taxable income. And these are income earned in the ordinary course of business. So on most occasions, it is the subject matter of realization. That is what the business does. So that's taxable income. Non-taxable income are income that are outside the ordinary course of business. I think this would explain it. An example is one. We have for sales, that's profit on disposal of non-current assets. Number two, frank investment income. Number three, income from sale of investment. Number four example is foreign exchange gain. So those are the examples of non-taxable income. Are we together, please? Please, I need your response in the chat room to know if we are together or I'm talking to myself. All right, let's move on. I can rub up my screen to look at the fourth element. All right. Now, the next thing I then want to look at is what are allowable expenses. Allowable. These are expenses that are only reasonable, exclusive, and necessary for the business. An example, we have one is okay, I will attend to that. Example are one, rent, two, repairs and maintenance. At this junction, it means I have to explain what repairs and maintenance. This does not include any repair that will increase the lifespan of the asset. Number three, I said rent, repairs, and maintenance. Number three, specific provisions for bad debts. Number four is bad debts written off. Number five is exchange loss realized. Number six, salaries and wages. Number seven, donations to approved body. In the Schedule 5 of Company Income Tax Act. Those are examples of allowable expenses. Are we together? Are we together, please? So frank investment income are incomes, are we together, please? That are not liable to further charge of tax for an individual. So those are income that have earlier suffered withholding tax. Example are with dividend paid to shareholders or income earned from abroad and are brought through appropriate channel. That's also an example of franked investment income. Are we on the same page? All right. So let's now go to the next one. I can rub up my screen now. But then I have what? Disallowable expenses. So these are expenses that are not only reasonably exclusive and necessary for the business. An example is one, depreciation. Two is preliminary expenses. Number three are donations to unapproved bodies. Number 4 is general provision for bad debts. Number 5 would be renewal of long-term lease old rights. Number 6 is improvement on assets, improvement cost on assets. Number 7 is renewal of assets, right? Number 8, we have fines and penalties. So those are examples of disallowable expenses. Any question? Any question? So in the absence of question, I can now
Sorry,
solve.
sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
Please, what are preliminary expenses?
Preliminary expenses are 1, pre-incorporation cost, 1, and also share issue cost.
Okay, thank you.
But any question, I can rub up the board. Okay, I've answered. Any question?
Hello, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, what is the difference between specific provision for depreciation and general?
General what?
General provision for depreciation, sir.
There's nothing like general provision and specific provision for depreciation. You only have general provision for bad debt and specific provision for bad debt.
Oh, okay, sir. So the difference, sir, between the two, sir.
Okay. The difference is that for general provision is a general estimate on receivable, while specific provision is a provision on a particular percentage of receivables. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
All right, I want to solve an illustration. Uh, all right. Let's see. Can you see my screen now? You should be able to see it now. All right. Can you see my screen? Okay, that's fine. Can somebody please read for us, a volunteer?
Dr. Eniola Ajayi, please can you hear me?
Hello, please go
Can
ahead.
I read now, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Eniola Ajayi, who resides in Lagos, has been trading for several years. The statement of profit or loss of our business for the year ended December 31, 2021 is as shown below. Gross profit, 50 million naira. Profit on sale of vehicle, 1.2 million naira. Less expenses. So the expenses are general administration, 3 million. Staff salaries, 12,219,500. Stationery and printing, 800,000. Postage and telephone, 400,000. Electricity, 700,000. Entertainment, 250,500. Vehicle repairs and maintenance, 455,000. Bank charges, 800,000. Donation, 4.5 million. Periodical and technical journals, 80,000. Audit and accountancy fee, 2.5. Defalcation and embezzlement, 1.2 million. Repairs and renewals, 85,000. Depreciation, 5 million and 10,000. VAT paid on equipment, 2,800,000. Bad and doubtful debt specific, 200,000. So we have a total expense of 35 million naira. And the net profit is 16,200,000. You are provided with the following additional information. Legal expense of 360,000 formed part of staff salary instead of capital items. Donation made to the Boy Scouts of Nigeria. She agreed with the inspector of taxes that 1/3 of vehicle repairs and maintenance related to private use. Further examination of accounts revealed that salary of 800,000 was paid to an unknown person. The chief accountant perpetrated 75% of the defalcation. Allowable expenses of 230,000 have been omitted from the accounts repair and from the accounts. So repairs and renewals comprised of partition of new office, 30,500. Repairs to plants and machinery, 25,000. Repairs of office roof, 29,500, which makes a total of 85,000. Agreed capital allowance on qualifying capital expenditure amounted to 7.5 million. So required, compute the gross income of Dr. Eniola for the relevant tax year. B, state 3 conditions that must be met before donations can be allowed as an expense.
All right. I'm sure you get that. So let me explain the idea of the question to you totally. The first thing is for me to compute the adjusted profit, right? Because that's what they mean by I should determine what is the gross income of Dr. Eniola that will be, for the relevant year of assessment, right? So the first thing is for me to determine which of these items here are, okay, which of these items here are allowable, disallowable in respect of expenses, and are taxable and not taxable in respect of income. Are we together, please? So let's start with Dr. Eniola Ajayi. That's the heading in your exam. Either the examiner says it or not, he expects you to actually give the heading first. The heading attracts mark. So I will advise you, your own interest, always learn to put heading on your work, Abby. So let's start. I have Dr. Eniola Ajayi. And most of the time, in the case of exam, it is not usually hard. Just look at the requirement, and the requirement will inform you as to what the examiner wants you to do. The requirement will inform you. So in this case, what the examiner wants you to do is what? To compute the gross income of Dr. Eniola for the relevant years of assessment. So what you now tell him is computation of gross income but in the exam you will not put relevant year of assessment. This income is for 2021 and businesses are assessed tax on preceding year basis. Abi? So you say 2022 year of assessment. Are we together, please? So I will have my 2 naira sign, all figures naira and figures in naira. Does this still make sense to you, please? So I will start with my net profit. And how much is the net profit? I think it's better for me to go first 1,000. My net profit is 16,200. And don't forget, we said net profit at disallowable expenses. So I will come to the body of my question and then check which of the expenses are disallowable, right? One, I have general administration. General administration is allowable, except there is a note in the additional information that tells us otherwise. Are we together? Staff salaries is allowable, but there will be a note in the additional information that will tell us otherwise. Also, stationery and printing is allowable, but if the examiner will give us a note in the additional information that will tell us otherwise. Are we together? Electricity expenses is also allowable, except otherwise stated in the additional information. Postage and telephone is also allowable, except otherwise stated in the additional information. We have entertainment allowable, vehicle repairs and maintenance allowable, bank charges allowable. Donations is allowable provided it is made to approved bodies. Then, so we will need to go and check the additional information to check what is the body of donation. We have periodical and technical journals is allowable, audit and accountancy fees allowable, defalcation and embezzlement, depending on the notes in the additional information. Repairs and renewal is also allowable depending on the notes on the additional information. Are we together, please? Are we on the same page, please?
We are following, sir.
Okay. We have the audit and accountancy fees allowable because it's the same thing with retainers fee. Allowable. Defalcation and embezzlement, there will be note in the additional information that will tell us more about it. Repairs and renewal is also allowable. Depreciation is not allowed. So depreciation will come here. And I have depreciation to be 5,010,010. Abi? Then VAT paid on equipment 2,000. Also allowable. We have bad and doubtful debt specific allowable. Abi? So they say legal expense of 360 form part of the salary and it is for capital in nature. So we have to add back legal expense. Anything capital in nature is disallowed for tax purposes. Right? We have how much? 360. Then we have donations made to the Boy Scouts of Nigeria. So the examiner is telling us that that donation was made to Boy Scouts of Nigeria, and Boy Scout is part of the approved bodies. Are we together, please? She agreed with the proprietor agreed with the tax inspector that 1 ton of vehicle repairs and maintenance was for private use, and anything used for private use will be disallowed for tax purpose. So we have repairs and maintenance, and that is, she said 1 ton, that's 1/3 of how much is the repair in the question? 55,000, right? And that gives us how much? Yeah, 151,667, Abi?
141. Okay, yes, 151, sorry.
Right? Then we have further examination revealed that salary of 800,000 was paid to an unknown person, Abi? So we have salary, we don't employ ghost workers. We want people that will come and show themselves. So we disallow it. The chief accountant perpetrated defalcation. The chief accountant is same. We know him, so we can go and hold him responsible. So we disallow it. 75% times how much is the defalcation? 1.2 million. And how much is that? $900,000. Right? We were told that allowable expenses, that's not yet time for it. We were told that repairs and maintenance comprised of, let's check, partitioning of new office is capital in nature. So I will say repairs, partitioning of new office. I have 30.5. Abi? Repairs to plant and machinery is correct. Repairs of office roof is also allowable. Are we together? So I've treated all the allowable expenses. So what's the figure now? Addition of all disallowed expenses, how much? $5010 plus 28 plus 360 plus 151.667 plus 800 plus 900 plus 30.5. So I have 10,000, right? 052.167. right? Yeah. So I have less allowable expenses. Allowable expenses here is how much? 230,000. And do we have taxable income omitted? Let's check. But we also have profit on sale of vehicle. That's also non-taxable, less non-taxable income. And in this case, we have profit on sale of vehicle. And that is what? One. So we have adjusted profit. Are we on the same page, please? So we have 150 minus 230 minus 12. What do we have? So we have 16,200. Are we together? 16,200 minus, sorry, 16,200 plus, beg your pardon, 10,052.167 minus 230 minus 1,200. So we have 24 822.167. Is that correct? Less capital allowance. And the capital allowance is how much? 7,000. Right? How much is that? So that's net business profit is how much? 24,822.1267 minus 7,500. Have it? So I have 17,322.167. So that's the net business profit. But it may interest you that all these things I just did was just workings. All I just did was just workings. So now I want to go to the major solution of the question. So I have net business profit is how much? Net business profit slash, you can also call it end income. That's how much? Then, since I have this as my end income and there are no other income for this fellow or for this doctor, so all I now need to do is consolidated less consolidated relief allowance. And what is consolidated relief allowance? It is higher of 20% of gross income. And what is 20% of this figure? What do I have? 2 times. That's 3464.433 and 200,000. So in this case, 200,000 is higher. Then I will add 1% of gross income, right? So that's 1% of 17,322.167. So I have 173.222 approximately. So when you add the two together, we will have 3464.433 plus 173.222, and that gives me, are we together please? 3637.65. Are we all on the same page? Are we together? Please use the chat room for me to know we are still together.
No, sir. I do not really understand. Sir, I do not understand this one you just did. The higher of 20%. Is that how to calculate the consolidated relief allowance?
Yes, the consolidated relief allowance is higher of 20% of gross income and 200,000. So whichever is higher is what you pick of the two. Do you understand? Then you now add 1% of the gross income to your answer. Do you understand?
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Any question? Okay. So 3466. So what's the effect now? So it should be 9 here, Abi. Then we have 2. So what do we have now?
$13,682. 13,682.512.
And that is the solution to the question. Any question? Any question, please? Any question?
Hello, the 20%, hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah, good
The
evening.
20% of the gross income, we charge it on 7322. Is it because it's lower than the 200,000? That's why we charge it on the net business profit, sir.
I didn't get you.
Sir, the higher of 30% of the gross income, is it because the net business profit that will arrive at is lower than the 200,000? That's why we charge it on the 320, sir.
I'm struggling to hear you honestly. You can use the chat room. If I can get your question, then I'll answer.
Sir?
You can use
It
the
just
chat
states
room.
that
Your background is
the
noisy a
consolidated
little.
relief allowance.
What say?
Sir, please, can you explain that CRA again? Because it also got me confused. Higher
Before
of 200% of
before
gross income.
2011, we have issues with people with aged mother and all of that. So in 2011, there was a review of the Personal Income Tax Act that said each individual should be relieved in a way. The income that you have as an individual should be reduced by the higher of 20% of your gross emolument and 200,000, whichever is higher of the two. Then you now add 1% of the gross emolument to it to give you the total income. So it is that amount that will be subjected to tax at the end of the day. Are we together, please?
Yes, sir, yes, I get it now, sir.
All right, no problem. So any question? Any question? I hope you got value from the class. So in the absence of question, this is how to determine the tax liability of the individual. So in our next lecture, I'll be solving further on taxation of sole trader, and then I'll be able to go to taxation of employee. Till then, yes, I will even share the distance with the whole solution in your class. So thank you very much, and God bless you. Do enjoy the rest of your day.